hit record here. Turn on my screen. Just to confirm, are you all seeing Infusionsoft right now? You should be looking at the campaigns and not the GoToWebinar screen. I have two screens on my computer, so I want to make sure. Just give me a confirm. Yes. Okay, cool. Well, welcome everyone. If you are on, some of you, this may be your first call. We have had one previous. Really kind of the structure of these is just to go through these campaigns that you have in your Infusionsoft account, at least you should have, and kind of clear up any confusion around them. If you guys have questions, if you want to know, what the purpose of something is, if you just want an overview of how to do stuff, that's kind of the main goal here. So I just want to clear up that stuff for you. And you will notice that I asked that you email questions in. I will go over those first. So all the email questions, those will kind of be priority that I cover first. And then after that, I will loop back into the little questions box and start answering those. So if you do have questions as we kind of go along, feel free to type them in the question box, and I'll work my way through those kind of after we go over some of the email ones and make sure you guys are all clear on what I'm referring to. So yeah, that is the structure right now. If you would like me to just go over a campaign, you can say, hey, can you just go through the AutoWebby campaign, for instance, which is kind of what we're going to be focused on today. We'll touch on some other stuff, but most of the questions I got were around the AutoWebby. So I'm going to go ahead and hop in that right now. So the first question I got was on the stealth action sets. So you will notice that in the videos that we recorded for you, when you're setting up your automated webinar through Stealth Seminar is an automated webinar service that we use. When you are setting that up, in the video, it says that you will have action sets that were already built in your accounts. So since we have made those videos, and pretty recently actually, Stealth updated that service, and that is no longer how it integrates. So now they actually use tag IDs. And let me hop into Stealth and I'll kind of show you what it looked like before. This is the older version. For most of you who didn't have Stealth prior, it won't look like this. You'll have a different Infusionsoft integration. So under the little marketing automation tab, first off, this is how this is how you integrate it. This is how it works. You'll hit activate plugin. You'll put your machine name, which is just your Infusionsoft app name. So what you can find in the browser when you're signed in. And then your Infusionsoft encrypted key. I'm not going to go over how to get that. It's pretty easy. Go to help.infusionsoft.com and just type in API key, and there'll be a walkthrough on how to find that. So you'll see right here it says logged in action set number and viewed call to action set number. So that is not how it works anymore. This is like the old version, like I said. Now they use tag IDs. So if you're in Infusionsoft, go to the CRM settings, and then on the left you will see tags. Here's a list of all my tags. There's a bunch of them. I like to just select the category right here. So I'll choose AutoWebby. And then it will give me all the tags, and you'll see to the left there's a little tag ID. So if I'm in Stealth, my logged in action set number, that is, like I said, it'll say tag ID. We're tagging them as soon as they log into the webinar. So we want to know which people actually showed up for the webinar that registered, because not everyone that registered is going to show up, unfortunately. I wish that were the case, but most people will not show up. So I'm going to grab that little ID tag, copy it, and then I would paste it right in here. Do the same thing for the call to action. Our call to action is what we call the saw offer tag. So at the point in our webinar where we start pitching and start making our offer, then we tag the people who stayed to that point. Because our webinars are long. Some people will come on for 20 minutes. Some people will come on for an hour. But some people will leave before the offer. So we like to keep track of that and tag them. So that's what that is referring to. Hop back over to the campaign. Is that clear to everyone? That makes sense? Cool. All right. The second question was around the liquidator offer and how you would set that up if they bought, but you wanted them to skip the registration and go right into the reminder indoctrination. So in order to do that, we're going to need to add another goal. So I'll click and drag a goal right there. This would be purchased liquidator. And then goal is achieved when a contact purchases a product. So that's the goal we want. I'll hit save and it will change the little goal type there. So now I'm going to grab the little line from this sequence, connect it up there, and then grab it and drag it down there. So what we just did is kind of, it looks a little bit weird, but created a separate goal. So now this is the goal for this, and this is the goal for this. So either of these things being achieved can take the contact from this sequence to the reminder and indoctrination sequence. Now, I forget who it was who asked this, but this will not register them. So I don't know what's happening on your liquidator page, if that's automatically registering them for the webinar, but the way we have this set up right now is when we invite them, this is a form that is registering them for the webinar. So then they're getting indoctrinated, and then we're sending the reminders for when the webinar is. We have like the morning of reminder, the couple hours before. So we're sending those reminders. So I'm not sure why you would want to skip that and just have the purchase, put them in automatically into the reminder indoctrination sequence if they never registered for the webinar. And it could be a paid webinar. So if that's the case, that's one way to do it, where they have to purchase and then you get the order form. So another way to do it is that I've got that question as well. If you are doing paid webinars, so you can still leave this goal here. And what I would do is, let's hop over. Oops. So we're going to go to our e-commerce order forms. And let's do live event order form. So this would be my link for the order form. That's how it looks. That's a standard Infusionsoft order form. Some of ours look different. I've got that question too. We've had some of ours custom coded. Some of our order forms, just for continuity's sake, there's people you can find that will do that for you. We don't do it all the time. We've just had some old ones that we've been using forever that were, so we've kept them. But anyway, okay, so this is the order form. If you were doing paid webinars, or if you were doing like an application and there's a fee before, like how would you set that up? So you have the order form. On the thank you page, I would put web address, and then I would put the URL of my webinar registration form. So what that would look like is, if you have your own form, that's great. If you have, like, if you're using a Megaphone form, you can hop over to Megaphone and grab, the opt-in page for that. If it's, a standard opt-in page, click on it, grab the link, and just paste that into the URL. That way they will have to pay before they can get to the registration page. So another use case for this is what we do is we have, for one of our programs, we have applications. So we want people to apply before, they can get on the phone, because, we like to pre-qualify them. So we want to know, how much money they're making a year, what kind of business they're running. Is it services? Is it a physical product? So we have a whole list of questions, but they have to pay $100 fee just to apply to that. And we do that on purpose. We want people to jump through hoops. We don't like making it extremely easy to buy some of our higher end products, because we want, to make sure we have the right type of customer. So what we would do is set up our own application, which you can do in Infusionsoft as well. So I'm gonna delete this. So just for continuity's sake, I'm going to build it in this same campaign, but we can pretend this is a new campaign. I'm going to drag out a new goal, and this is going to be our application. So if you're selling like consulting or coaching and you want people to have to apply, and that's a paid, or you're doing like a free call with someone and you want them to have to apply, this is a great way to do that, to have an application beforehand. So we're just going to call it application, save it, and then if I double click on it, you'll see that's just standard first name and email. Now under the field snippets, I can start adding whatever questions I want. So whatever I need to know, I can start adding that. So I can drag this is the radio option down, and I can ask, how much does your business earn? And I create as many options as I want, $0, 5K to 20K. You get the idea. So these will be monthly, and people could then select these options on here, and I can apply a tag right here if I want, so I could segment them that way. So let's cancel that. I can do other, so I can do custom fields here. I can create my own field. So if it's a company, job title, there's all these fields kind of already built in. A lot of these are custom. You can create a custom field right here. If you want people to type in, like maybe it's more like you need them to type in a lot, like, describe your business in a couple of sentences. We can select text area from these options here, and that will give us kind of a larger box for people to choose from. So you can play with that, but great way to segment your customers and kind of pre-qualify people, because one thing you can do is if you have criteria that's already set, say you only want to work with businesses that are making, 100 to 500K in revenue. I'm just throwing those numbers out there. What you can do from that application is set up some separate sequences. And you'll notice, I'll connect it there. You'll notice something will happen when I connect it a second time. So you can see, and I'm going to drag this up a little bit because it drives me crazy, that this little box appeared when I connected a goal to two separate sequences. This is what we call a decision diamond. So I'm going to rename this, makes $0, makes 5K to 20K, makes 20K to 50K. And I'm just throwing these out there. So now what I can do is click on that, and I can set up rules for each of those sequences. So if I want to send everyone who selected I make $0 to that top sequence, I can say, okay, if the contacts or form submission, so I can select either. These contacts would be like, if I click that, I can choose tags and custom fields and kind of discern based on that. for this, I'm going to do form submission, option, and then it gave me the radio options, but that's because I didn't change the name, but it would say, makes $0. So basically what I just did is if the contacts is selected. So basically what I just set is if they make $0, I want them to go to that top sequence. And then I would do the same for if they selected the 5K to 20K option, I want them to go to the middle sequence. And if they make 20K to 50K, I want them to go to that sequence. And what this does is now for the people that make $0, I can, set up a timer and say, in an hour or whatever, or send them an email right away that says, hey, thanks so much for your application. Unfortunately, at this time, we're not a good fit to work together. However, here is a free webinar on how to do X without Y. You can register here. Something like that. I can still give them something of content because they did go through the hoops and they did apply. And for these people, I can, send, hey, awesome, you meet our criteria. Let's schedule a call. Here's a link, or I can just call them. I can set up some automation to trigger a call automatically that would appear on our calendar. So some cool things you can do with that decision diamond and kind of filtering through your list. So I'm going to answer a couple questions here. With the decision diamond, can you then have a separate thank you page for each option? A separate thank you page. No, you would have to have a separate form. So Infusionsoft won't redirect to a specific thank you page based on what they chose, but we can have follow-up based on what they chose through setting this up. Because at this point, they've already filled out the form, and before it hits the decision diamond, they've already submitted that until they get to this point. So it's a good question. Okay, so another question I got is on Webinar Jam, and I've seen these come in as well. So Webinar Jam works a little bit differently than Stealth. Stealth, we originally built this campaign to work with Stealth. When it was built, that was before Webinar Jam integrated with Infusionsoft, so we didn't use it. But now that it does integrate with Infusionsoft, it is great. So we use that. We actually use both of them for automated webinars. I have no real preference. I've gotten that question as well. They both work great. Stealth, what I will say, Stealth has amazing support. Like if you submit a ticket, they will get back to you like within 10 minutes usually. They're unbelievable. And they will set a lot of it up for you. So you can say, hey, I want this to do this, and they will just do it for you, which is awesome. Webinar Jam is probably a little bit cleaner and like a little bit better interface, but they're both great. So the way you would set that up is, the good thing about Stealth is they will pass along the webinar date and time and everything into Infusionsoft, so we can store it on the contact record, and then we can send all the reminder emails and everything from Infusionsoft. Webinar Jam does not do that. I'm sure you could set it up with like some custom coding and some audit, some query stuff. I'm not a coder, so I don't know how you do that, but I'm sure you could. So what we recommend for Webinar Jam is you can set up everything else. So we can still get all the tagging and all the follow-up. What you'll need to do is just do the reminder emails, have them send from Webinar Jam. So we have these reminders kind of built in based on the date and time of the webinar that they registered for through Stealth. So you can see it says wait until the contact's next Stealth seminar webinar date, which is a custom field in Infusionsoft, and then run at 7 a.m. So that will run automatically the morning of based on that field. So with Webinar Jam, just set up the reminders to come from Webinar Jam and you'll be fine. There's an email integration option. Let's see if I can pull up Webinar Jam.
Welcome, everybody.
Yep. See if we can get signed in here. Got it. Okay, so if I edit this, I'm going to pass all of this until we get to the integrations. Bear with me. So you'd set up all those integrations, or all the reminders through there, like I said. So email autoresponder. I'll click, do Infusionsoft, and then okay, so it's going to ask me to enter in the app name, which is what's in the browser, like I said, right here. XP142 is mine. You all have a unique one. And then API key, which you can get. I'll show you real quick. Under the admin settings, and then the application tab down here will be the encrypted key. If it's the first time in your app, you'll have to set an API passphrase. So just set that, hit save, and then it'll generate a key for you. So you can copy that, put it in here, and it will integrate. Then the tagging is exactly how I explained with Stealth. So it'll ask for the tag ID, and so you just go to that CRM settings section, get the tags, find the logged in tag, grab the ID, put it in there, find the saw offer tag, grab it, put it in there. And yeah, and you should be all set, and it'll tag all those customers and your follow-up. So right here, these tags will get applied, and right there, and it'll kind of flow them through everything else. So yeah, good question. They both work very similar. That's really the only difference, is kind of the follow-up. How can I get notified when someone opts in? Good question. So you'll see on all these form goals within Infusionsoft. Let's go to one. So that's like more of a registration page. But if we go to, say, the Goodwill. Double click on the form. Under the settings section, we can turn, it says notification email. So we can say send an email to there. So now anytime someone fills that out, I'm going to get an email. This will be the subject line. A form was filled out, and it'll have their name and what they filled out in that email. So I can click on it, and I think there's a link that will take me into Infusionsoft, so I can check on it immediately. So yeah, if you just fill that right there. I think you can do multiple, yeah, there you go. Separate email addresses with commas, and you can have multiple people notified. So if you have like a team, a sales team that needs to contact people or whatever, just hit comma, put in the email, and you'll get that notification. All right, editing the Megaphone pages. So the reason we use Megaphone is because, well, A, we get free accounts, and we give you all free accounts, which is always a plus. And B, it's because it's just, I like their templates more than Lead Pages. Lead Pages offers, they're very similar. Lead Pages offers a little bit more flexibility and kind of analytics and stuff like that, but these do everything we need them to do in terms of customization. Like, they're clean, they look good. I can just throw it on there and kind of customize how I want. So really, let's click on the auto launch. We got the template here. This is just their standard template. So I have video 1, video 2, video 3. Under this customize section, so as you can see, I've turned off a lot of this stuff. This is how it was default. So you see there's like this logo up here. There's kind of the little sub logo there. There's the headline, and at the bottom there's all the copyright stuff. So I just hit customize and said, nope, don't want that, don't want that, don't need the header. I'll do the headline. But if you don't have a call to action on these, if it's just a video like an indoctrination video, then you don't need a button for it. So I can even hide that. I'll hide the body text. Don't need that. Don't need comments. No copyright. So you can see you can just kind of uncheck what you want and just make these really clean video pages. And that's kind of the point of them, which is really helpful. Now on the VSL page, a cool little trick. Hang on, this is not the page I want. This should be the VSL page. So this is most of the VSL pages we use. Kind of follow this. So what you can do right here with it's called a timed reveal. So if you're making an offer, or this is like a long video sales letter page, maybe this video is 20 minutes and you want people to buy at a certain point, you're not going to reveal the price or something like that, you can do what's called a timed reveal. So I can say, hey, at the 20-minute and 10-second mark, I want that button to appear. So now that buy button will only pop up at the 20-minute mark. So in your video, you should know what that point is. And you can say like, hey, the cart is open right now. You can click below this video on the link. And like right at that moment, the button will appear for them. So kind of a cool little feature there called the timed reveal. But yeah, so that's kind of how you customize those, is literally just the customize section. And it doesn't offer a lot of, like, if you're trying to do a lot of customization and that kind of stuff. I mean, we pick these templates just because they're really clean and we can just kind of throw them up and we don't get bogged down with design and stuff. So that's why they're there. And yeah. Okay, answer some of these questions here. So for Stealth and Webinar Jam, does the webinar have to be a specific date, or can it be set one day or whatever from when a person registers? Yeah, good question. So what we do is, and Webinar Jam and Stealth will set this up for you. Webinar Jam, and there is a feature somewhere, I can't remember right now where it is, but what you can set it up to is when they get to that page, only display a webinar that is at least 2 days out. So we run our automated webinars every day, but you can only register one that's 2 days out. So I couldn't register for a webinar tomorrow. And we do that because we want to send the indoctrination content. And we want to make sure that they've had a chance to see those videos, because that increases their likelihood to A, show up for the webinar, and B, to pay more attention and get value out of it, and which turns them more likely to buy. So we make sure that it's two days out just so they can see the indoctrination videos. With Webinar Jam, can you see how long people have been on the webinar? Yeah, so you can tag them at certain points. So our thing's not integrated right now through this account, but in there, under those tag options, you can tag them at any point you want. So I don't know if you're asking, like, can I look at everyone and see, like, oh, they dropped out at the 15-minute mark, but this person dropped out at the 12-minute mark. I don't know if you can have that data. I'm sure you can. We don't really track that. We just kind of have our milestones, which are, did you log into the webinar? So did you show up in the first place? We want to know that. Did you stay till the offer? We want to know that. Everything in between is kind of, we just treat the same. And there's not really much else we can get from that. Unless you're noticing, like, are you thinking that everyone's dropping off at a certain point? My guess would be that's pretty unlikely. But yeah, that's kind of how, that's what we track. That's what's useful to us. All right, let me see. What do we use for recording VSLs, like when we're not straight to camera? So we use ScreenFlow. I think it's just for Mac. It might be for PC too. I'm not really sure, but that's what we use. It's like $100. So we'll just have slides and PowerPoints, and we'll do voiceover on that, and it works great. So that is totally an option. I know I've answered this before, but if you are not extremely comfortable on camera, then I would recommend doing voiceover with slides, because that converts better, unless you are like really a presentation whiz and are great on camera and have a strong presence. Otherwise, the slightest thing people will get distracted with, and I'm sure you can all relate. You've all seen someone present or watched a webinar or something where they're on screen and maybe they have weird hair, maybe their shirt is an interesting color, or like something. We're so easily distracted that you will focus on that and be like, oh, where did you get that watch? Where? And like something just triggers and your mind is in some other space. So unless you are a really engaging and great presenter, I would definitely recommend you just do ScreenFlow with slides for VSLs and for videos. So that's probably a relief to a lot of people that are like, oh no, I don't want to be on camera. So yeah, fear not. Okay, good questions, guys. Keep them coming. Okay, is there any specific Infusionsoft stuff that people need covered? I know there's some questions on the order forms. I can hop over to those. So the order forms offer a little bit of flexibility. If you are looking for more, I would recommend you just get like a plugin. That there's a lot of great ones that, like for instance, I can choose the theme right here. There's a couple of different themes. HTML areas, if you want to, code some HTML stuff, gives you that option. But there's not a lot you can do. So if you're looking for like full customization, what I would recommend is in your app up here, there's the Infusionsoft Marketplace. So if I click on that, it will give me all of these companies that have created basically integrations. You can just type in order. Fix Your Funnel is great. If you're looking for like good Infusionsoft one-click upsells, Fix Your Funnel is awesome. A lot of these I haven't heard of, but you can play around and find some good ones. There's tons of options in there if the standard ones don't work for whatever you're trying to do. We use them mostly. We don't really need a lot of customization on them, but if you're looking for that, there are options there. All right, so merchant accounts, how do you set that up with Infusionsoft? So under the e-commerce settings, there is an option for merchant accounts. Now Infusionsoft just rolled out its own kind of merchant called, you'll see it right here, Infusionsoft Payments. So that's an option for you if you haven't set that up yet. Otherwise, you hit Add Merchant Account, and these are all the ones that Infusionsoft integrates with. If yours is not on here, like you're using like Stripe or something like that, you will have to find another integration. I know that there's options like Samcart has its own integration, and some companies have their own integrations. So you just have to look at that. It's pretty easy to set up. Another option is Zapier. I don't know how familiar you are all with that, or if you've ever heard of it, but great little, they build like API integrations, and it just lets you integrate tons of softwares. So if you're using, some kind of scheduler that doesn't integrate with Infusionsoft, first place I would check is Zapier, because if you're trying to do it, chances are someone else has tried to do it, and they will build it, and you just pay for like each one, and it's not too expensive. So great website, great resource for you if you're looking to integrate Infusionsoft with tons of other softwares. And like through Zapier and through all these things, you can pretty much get Infusionsoft to integrate with anything you need. So it's really helpful. Can Infusionsoft take, say, a 100-question survey and place a value on each question? The calculated value to decide which result to send. I don't know about that. Probably not, is my guess. I've never heard of it doing that. You would have to find a little bit of a workaround for that. The easiest thing would probably be if there is a software that does that. Like I said, try and find an integration that will just, drop them in and trigger off a separate email. So if you can find an integration, what you could do is say, hey, if they scored between 0 and 10 or 0 and 20, then, apply this tag, and that tag could trigger a specific email. Or if they scored between 50 and, you get the idea, in some range. Or if you want, you can create a tag for every single possible outcome. I don't know if you need that, but that would be an option. Yeah, I don't think there's any way to calculate out all of the answers and kind of add them up. It just doesn't really have that logic built in. Those aren't really built for surveys. They're more built for like opt-in forms, but you can turn them into surveys and applications, but that's not really what they were designed to do. So it's kind of more of a workaround. So yeah, I would look into just tagging them, and tags can trigger like pretty much any kind of action. So you should be able to send specific emails and stuff based on that. Can you go over the smart links? Yes, I can. Let me hop into. So plus this amazing tool. They just rolled out this Facebook audience triggers, which is really cool if you're doing like Facebook advertising. So they have tons of different tools here that you should all play with and learn, because they can just make you an absolute whiz of a marketer with all these tools. So the Facebook audience one we're really excited about, because you can, like if you're in an automated webinar campaign or something, we can run ads specifically to where you are in the campaign. So if you haven't watched the indoctrination videos, we can run an ad to get you to watch those. And once you do, we can tag you and we'll move you along so you stop seeing those indoctrination videos. Maybe you've already been through the webinar and now you're on to, like, you need to watch the VSL after. We can run specific ads to where you're at in your campaign. So that is really powerful stuff. But I digress. Smart links. So smart links give you the option of sending people to a specific URL based on their tags. So the way we use it is for like a cart open. So if you have a cart open tag, then you can see the VSL and you can buy. If you don't, then you go to this content is no longer available. So you can do this for tons of different ways. That's just the way we use it. So if you need people to, if they're in a specific program and you need to watch them, or you need them to watch a specific video, but they, you want them to see a different video, you can use a smart link that will say, hey, if they have this tag, they go to this page. If they don't have this tag, they go to this page. And you can set up, a ton of different rules on that. So I'll kind of show you what we mean. So first thing I'm gonna do is grab the sold out page. I know it says, thanks, you're signed up, this content's no longer available. I'll just delete that. But yeah, usually ours just say, hey, this content is no longer available. Sorry, and some kind of default content. But come in here, grab the link, paste it in the fallback. So the fallback is where they're going if they don't have what we want them to have. So it's kind of the catch-all. That's kind of like the safety net. Everyone's going to see that. So I'm going to hit new smart link based on tags. Send to this address. This is the address that we want them to go to. This is kind of the goal. So here I would grab my VSL, grab the link, paste it. There we go. So that's the VSL, that's the sold out. Now we got to set up the rules. So you can see it says has tag. So let's hop over. I'll show you what this looks like in the campaign, or where we would be linking to this. So in the countdown sequence, you'll notice the first thing we do is apply a tag, AutoWebby, cart open. The last thing we do is remove the tag, AutoWebby, cart open. So there it's being removed, at the start it's being applied. So if you click in all of these emails, we are linking to one link. So we have one central link that we're saying, hey, click here to buy, to purchase, which are all that smart link. So if they have that tag, they're going to go to the VSL. If not, they're going to go to a sold out page. If you don't want to take away access, what I've seen some people do is structure the whole reason we do that is for scarcity. And we want to, we want to create urgency. We want to create buying decisions and actions. So another way you could do that is kind of with bonuses. So you could say, hey, if you buy in the next 4 days, you're going to get all of these bonuses. And if you don't, you can still buy it, but you're not going to get the bonuses. So maybe the page, maybe the send to address is, the page that's including all the bonuses. And maybe the fallback is just a standard VSL page that just includes the product. There's no special pricing, or you could do it for special pricing. Like, hey, for the next 4 days, if you already have a product on your website, say, hey, for the next 4 days, I'm offering it at this price, if they've been through the campaign. So you send them here. After those 4 days, maybe you just send them to the standard pricing, and that's the fallback URL. So a couple of different use cases, I guess, would be the best way. So how we set that up? You remember this tag was AutoWebby cart open. So we're just going to find the AutoWebby. There's a category, cart open. And now this is all set. So AutoWebby. Just going to give it a feature name, just something so you know what it is. I'll probably include the product name. Add feature. And then it gives you two kind of links here. Since this is going to be in an email, since we are sending it in an email, copy the bottom one. And then we'll paste that. We'll have it linked to this page. So that is all set up now. So very, very cool feature. Now the other feature we use, which seems there's a little bit confusion on as well, I'm happy to go over, is the what's the date feature. So I'll show you that. Basically, what we're using that for is just calculating specific dates. So since all of our campaigns are evergreen, meaning they're continually running, each person kind of has a different experience and a different checkout date and a different date when their cart will close. But we want to let them know. We don't want to just say, hey, in 4 days. We like to give them a hard date and say, like, hey, on November 4th, this date is going to close. So how we do that is start with this date, the date when the feature is used. So that'll be the time they hit the sequence. And then we're going to add 4 days or 3 days or, however many you're going to add. Click on our date format options. put the human formatted date in this field. Now, this is important because this is the Infusionsoft field that we are storing it in. So I'm going to do cart open formatted. And in the videos we say, which field, they're kind of specific ones for the campaigns. Now, what's really important is that it's not so much that you put it in the right field, it's just that in the emails we link to the right field. And I'll explain what I mean in a minute. So pick your field, cart open formatted. Format the date like this is just, how do you want the date to show up? If I'm emailing someone, I'm probably not putting the year in it because I assume, it's this year. So I'm probably just saying, hey, it's on Thursday, November 5th, but you can choose however you want to do it. Name, let's date, spelled it wrong, but okay. Okay, so now we have our long plus this code. So copy that. Go back to, you'll see these HTTP posts. So basically that's firing off and calculating that date. So it's going to be 4 days from the moment they enter this sequence. Remember, both of these run at the exact same time. So all the start tags will run, at the same time. So as soon as they get in, as soon as they enter this sequence, these are both firing. So we'll click on that. I already have one in there, but paste it and make sure we set that from draft to ready. And now that's all set. So all that will do now is when they get there, it will calculate 4 days from today and store that date in their contact record. So that's great, but we still have to merge that date in. So within the emails, it says somewhere, it might be, okay, so we used a different field for this merge code, but that's fine. So I'm just going to highlight that. This is where I want that date to appear. I'm going to hit Insert, Merge Fields. I'm going to do the custom because it's a custom field. And I have 2 cart open formatted. I don't know why, probably because I created 2, but it's one of these. So, because remember, that's the field that we chose in plus this. So that's how it knows where to pull from. Select that. It's going to give me that little merge code there. And then we should work. Now, when you're testing this, be careful if you're just hitting send test from right here, because a lot of times it won't pull that from the contact record. It'll just send the email as it is. So you'll be like, oh, it's not working. But in reality, it might be working, but you're just, it's just pulling this email. So a great way to test is, say you just want to test, this feature and this specific countdown sequence. Now, there's no way to do that without dropping, without going through the entire campaign, but we don't want to do that. We just want to drop ourselves in the countdown sequence. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this. It's going to give me a bunch of errors. That's okay. Fine. Okay. So now I'm going to find my, so do it from here. This is one of my test contact records. I'm going to select the one I want to drop into that specific point in the campaign. Go to Actions, Start, Stop a campaign sequence. This is also what you would do if, say, you accidentally put everyone into a campaign you didn't want them to be in. Not that we have ever done that, wink, wink. But this is how you would stop that. So if everyone's about to get an email, or maybe they've already gotten one email, but you want to just, cut it off before they get more of them because they're not supposed to be in there, just select everyone, do that action, start, stop campaign sequence. Then you can select stop and find the specific one. But for this case, we want to start it. So we're going to start. I'm going to find that campaign, which was the AutoWebby. And then we wanted to start in the countdown sequence. So I'm going to drop myself in there. I will wait for the action to run, and then we'll be able to see. Give it a minute, sometimes Infusionsoft. Come on. Come on. Hooray. Okay, so now let's go back to that contact record. And I should, now I have a lot of test contact records with the same and there we can see just a minute ago it fired off. It sent me that email and it fired off so I'm under the recent campaign history. So when you go to that contact record, click this little campaigns tab. It'll show you all the recent campaign history as well as upcoming campaign items. So I can see it sent those emails and fired off that, which should store in my custom fields. So it did it, calculated the dates, stored a date in there. Now this might be from an old campaign because, like I said, I have a lot of, my contact is going through a lot of campaign tests. So sometimes it gets a little wonky, but that is how you would, that's how you test like a specific sequence instead of dropping yourself through the whole campaign. Cool. Is there any other questions that you guys have? That is all the content I have for you. I'll kind of circle back through these questions here. What kind of mic do we use for this stuff? I think it's called Blue something. If you go on Amazon, click like Blue podcasting mic, it'll pop up there. I think this one's like $150 or something. It's great. So yeah, I would recommend that. And like I said, we use ScreenFlow to do all the kind of recording stuff. You can use like Camtasia as well. Works fine. So there's a lot of different options if you just Google that stuff. Cool. Well, I think that will cover it for today then. Thank you guys all for hopping on. Much appreciated. I will send out the replay of this as soon as we upload it to Wistia. And last call I mentioned a class on tags. Yes, I will send out that there's a webinar on that as well. I will send that to you. Yeah, I'll make sure that you get that. Cool. Well, thank you everyone. Appreciate it. I will talk to you next week. So also, side note, next week our call will probably be on Wednesday at this time, and that will be the date going forward. So plan on Wednesday at noon Pacific, and that will be our kind of set in stone date going forward. So heads up on that. And yeah, if you have any more questions that come up during the week that you want answered on here, or you want to walk through on something, just shoot them to me in an email, and we'll make sure they get covered. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your week and weekend.